not sure.
I don't think so.
We're missing a couple.
The Child Development Center, we have 2 buildings. Hi, good. Glad to see you. Come in. Y'all can sign in first, if you will. We have 2 buildings. This is the Child Study Center, obviously, and we have 4 classrooms in this building, and then we have a younger building down at the 48th Street, and we start children there at 8 weeks, and go up to 2 years or 3 years. Come in. We need you in here. I'm glad to see you. Thought you could sneak in. And we have the 5 teachers over there. The infant teacher has 9 children, and then the water teacher, and there are 2 next classes that when they go to leave the infant classroom, they can go to 1 of 2 classes, and then when they leave those 2 classes, they go to one of the other 2 classes. So they can be in 3 different classes over there, and then they come over here, and when they come over here, they stay with 1 teacher the whole time. They stay, and these classes are multi-age, so these classes are 3 to 5 years old. 3 to 5 years old. And we have 3 of those here. We have Ms. Deutsch, Ms. Pearson, and Ms. Charlton. And then we have Mrs. Brady's class. How many of you were with Mrs. Brady? Okay, Mrs. Brady's class is different, and hers is a half-day program. In the morning, she has a 3-hour program for younger children, and then in the afternoon, a 3-hour program for older children. So in the morning, it's 8:30 to 11:30. In the afternoon, it's 1 to 4. And some of the children from Mrs. Pearson's room go over to Mrs. Brady's room in the afternoon. Their parents don't want them to have to take naps, and so they go over there. I think there are only 2 children. So, how many of you already were in a classroom this morning? Okay. Here. You were in a public. No, that's fine. Are you here in the afternoon?
Yes.
Oh, okay. With this break, yes. So you're doing both at the same time, right? The rest of them doing both at the same time. It's tough. That's hard. Okay, I want you to tell us your name and where you are, and then I've got some things to share with you for the day. So we'll start with you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Callie, and I'm working with Charlton this semester.
Have you been there already?
I was there this morning for my first day.
And how did it go?
Lots of new friends and a couple of friends that I had already seen before in other practicum. So very fun, very sweet kids.
Did it feel overwhelming? Good.
Not yet.
Let me just warn you that it's a little bit intimidating when you come in, because these children know each other so well, and they're kind of used to having new children. But it's a different setting in that they use the one-on-ones and they try to stay positive. So if you're not used to that, it's kind of like, what am I supposed to be saying? And can I say no? Can I, what am I supposed to be remembering? So just kind of pick up the pieces of the teachers for a while, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's fine, and the teachers are very, very helpful, and they've all been through this program themselves, so they all know what it feels like. Okay, Callie Fisher. This is Ruben.
How you doing today? My name is Ruben, and I was in observation watching the kids in the right room. So every week I do it in one room. I jot down notes for what we got doing.
And his mother runs a child care center in her home, and she's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Can you imagine? And she helps out the military family. So I'm so glad to have Ruben here, because Ruben is learning a lot about how to interact with children, and he's a big help to his mom. what else to do, just sit down. So it's nice to have rooms. Okay.
I'm Ellen, and I'm in Miss Pearson's class. I'm the same, I have a lot of the same kids that I had in my undergrad practicum, so it's nice to see them again.
Now, you're not Ellen Brown. You are? Okay, I thought you were coming later. You're coming later.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, because I'm moving June 1st, so I can't do that rotation.
oh, good. Good, well, I'm so glad you're here, Ellen, so now that you're coming. And you're in whose room?
Miss Pearson.
Okay, how'd it go today?
Really well.
Ashley, I'm also in Miss Pearson's room, and I love her. I love her so much.
Do you really already?
Yeah, already. It's just the most amazing classroom. I don't know. She has everything together. Right away, little boy Aiden came up to us, took our hands, and was showing us around. It was great.
Aiden is such a dear little boy. He always makes me feel so comfortable.
Yes.
Ashley, what's your last name?
Adam.
I'm so glad you're
I'm Rachel Keith. I'm actually making up this day.
here. That's right.
I'm actually in the afternoon with Miss Brady. So this is actually my last full day. I think I come back Wednesday tomorrow. But they're absolutely wonderful kids, and Miss Brady is an awesome teacher, and she's a great help. So I love it. So you do learn a lot.
What have you learned here?
A lot of the 101s and the positive discipline. Like I've done daycare before, and I know it doesn't work, but seeing like the positive discipline, it does work. And it takes time. It really does, because you'll sit there and think about like, what do I need to do? And you'll go through them like a couple at a time, and it's just, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that and finding activities to do for the kids that are age appropriate, like, and make sure that they're actually interested in it. That was another hard thing. So
What did you learn when you were doing the circle, the group work?
during circle, children cannot sit for 30 minutes, so you have to find like increments to do, like movement and like sitting down talking to them or reading a story, get them interactive, so they're not actually physically sitting there the entire 30 minutes. So that was another thing, trying to find activities to do for them to get up and move and keep things like rolling, because you don't want them to sit there, because if they sit there, they start to get distracted and do other things, and then you have to get them back on task. So it's time management and things like that. So.
And Rachel got real good at that. All the teachers have circle time when they're all in a circle and you're up in front of them. And it looks so much easier than it is.
Yeah.
When you get up there and you're in front of them, you think, what did I miss that she did? Because she kept them all engaged, and how do I do that? You have to keep moving and keep doing different things. But all the teachers are good at that. So you'll get a chance to see your teachers doing it first. Rachel's nice.
Yeah. Miss Brady makes it look easy, so.
I know.
She does.
Okay.
My name's Christine Alfonso, and I'm not starting my rotation until May, December rotation. But I've been for my other practicum, I was with Miss Lund, and I know when I first went into the classroom, it was very scary, and I was overwhelmed like for the first week, because I have never been around that many young kids before. But I got used to it, so I'm looking forward to the next rotation, because I've already seen what I'll be walking into.
You don't know whose class you're going to be in.
No,
It's nice to have you.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm in Miss Brady's room this afternoon, so I haven't been in yet.
Okay, well, you're in for a treat. So, nice to have you.
Natasha Morrison. I'm also in Miss Brady's room this afternoon.
Oh, good. You are. Y'all know each other.
From another class.
Okay.
I'm Brooke. I was with Miss Joyce this morning.
How was
I
that?
liked it. I don't know. Yeah, I liked it. I liked positive discipline. You can see it's different than public school.
Anybody with you in there?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I got moved
Oh,
from Brady to her class.
Kirsten Bagans, and I won't be starting my rotation until mid-May, and it'll be my first time in the Child Study Center. So.
Hi, I'm already done. I'm in the Charlton class. It's my first day yesterday. I like it so much.
Did you say Courtney?
Brittany.
Brittany. And you were with Charlton?
Yes.
Who else was with Charlton? Okay. Good.
Hi, I'm Natalie Marnell, and today was my first day in Miss Brady's class. Stacey Nichols is also with me, and then we have an undergraduate, I guess, that was in for like the first hour and a half or so.
Oh, yeah, they're in
Andre Gill something. I can't remember. But this is I just finished my public school practicum, and today was a little bit felt slightly overwhelmed because they're how young they are, and so preschool is a little scary.
It is.
But I had fun.
We tell everybody you can do it with preschool, you can do it with any age, because you really have to be up on all the techniques, and it gets easier as you get older with older children.
Yeah, like this morning I was doing center time with them and doing the dominoes. At first it was going really well, getting them engaged, and then when I started making up every time I started, it was just knocked down every time, and I didn't know how to like positively tell them, please don't do that. And I was just like, I want to show you what I just like every time I would like put it, they just thought it was different. So I'm just still not quite sure how to do everything, but.
Let me just give you a hint. Whenever you want to tell somebody to stop doing something or don't do that, think what it is you want him to do.
I tried that one. I was like, oh, what can you make here with
Yeah.
this one? And they, no. So
you have-
I struggled slightly on that one, but.
It is a struggle, but the more you can get in the habit of thinking, what do I want him to do, and then try to make that interesting, whisper, or make it attractive, or make it sound like something that you just thought of, or I bet you can, or give him the choice principle. The more you learn to do that, the easier it gets, and the more you do it without thinking, but it takes a while. Okay.
I'm Jessica Nigro, and I'm with Miss Deutsch as well. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
Yes, I'm with her as well. I was with Miss Brady, but they asked me to move, and I said that's fine. I have to admit, I am freaking out. I'm so scared about this placement because I never worked with little kids, and I never really wanted to work with little kids. So this is my first time ever dealing with kids this small. So, and then once she handed us like our assignments and things that we were going to do, I decided I'm going to put in my 2 weeks of my job today because I don't know when I'm going to be able to do all this stuff. So I'm a little overwhelmed, and I have to say I'm really anxious. But I did tell her that. I told the teacher that. And she's like, I'm really glad that you told me that. I'm here for you. I'm going to help you get through this, and I promise you that it's going to be okay. So that helped me out. So I need you guys to, you see each other like all week. So we're going to.
How many hours do you work?
Well, I work about 30 to 35, but I work Friday through Monday, and then I have class Tuesday through Thursday. So there's just no way. There's just not enough time today between managing a home and, being a newlywed. It's kind of, I already wanted to pull my hair out, but now I can definitely do it after today. But I'm going to get through it. Make me stronger.
Where do you work?
I'm working at Baker Street. It's a bar, so it's late night, like 4 in the morning. So it really messes up everything that I have.
Yeah. It's cool. We'll all hold your feet.
Thanks, because I need it.
Hi, I'm Lucy Russell. I am with Miss Brady in the afternoons also. So I have a little class.
Okay.
Looking forward to it. A little nervous. I'm going to do everything I need to do at the time.
Well, let us know when you're if you're frustrated, when you're frustrated, and I want to give you this handout, and we're going to talk about this for the few minutes we have left. And this gives you some hints about how to help children, and from the very start. And just so you know, this picture up in the corner is a picture on the cover of my book. and she and I have done many workshops together. We did recently, workshop with Daisy and Richmond. And we did this on tattling. And let me just say that when talking to you about tattling, tattling is a word that people use to describe what they don't want to hear. Children come to a teacher with something that the teacher doesn't want to hear. They usually call it tattling. If the child comes and says, Johnny just threw up, you wouldn't say, Johnny wants you to tattle. If they say the principal's at the door, you wouldn't say, I don't want you to tattle. So tattling is the kind of a negative word that I think that we use when we don't know what to say to children, or it's bothersome that they come to tell us something. However, the research on bullying says that we are supposed to teach children to, when they are bullied, what are we supposed to teach them to do? Tell a teacher. Go tell somebody. Do you know how many times a teacher helps a child who comes with a complaint about another child? Anybody want to guess?
30%.
It's 1 in 100. And that's something the research says is 1 in 100 times that teachers really help a child. And so what happens to children is when they come and tell something that's going on, the teacher says, go away or go play video, fusses at them usually. Let's look at the second page of this, and on the side, on the left side, this is what teachers usually say: don't tattle, mind your own business, go play somewhere else, find another friend, it's not a big deal, you'll be okay. I'm sure you didn't mean it, she's just having a bad day. You heard people say this. Okay, now I want to tell you something that I think that is going to be surprising, and that is that I think whenever a child comes to you, it's an honor. So that's a very different approach, isn't it? I think whenever a child comes to you, it's an honor. And what I mean by that is this child has chosen you to come to. This child needs some help. This child needs something that they think you can give them. And they've chosen you because you either are available, or you look like a safe person, or you look like somebody that they can get help from. And so, I think that when a child comes to you, we owe it to them to be receptive to what they have to say. What goes on playgrounds all over the world is That's all over the world in different languages. And all of us need to deal with and we need to learn how to cope with that. And it doesn't go away on the playground, does it? Don't you have a boss? Doesn't that boss Yeah. Anytime we have a boss, they us because they say, this is the rule, you do it or you get out. That's So I have that here. I promise you I do. I've had it all my life here. I have people that tell me what to do, and many times I think that's a silly thing to do. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. And I have many colleagues who left because they didn't like what they were told to do, and I chose to stay because it was worth it to me to be able to do what I could do. But we all have to deal with it. So it's our job to teach children how to deal with those things. forget that children don't have the skills. We would not put a 15-year-old behind a wheel on a car and say, okay, now drive, without any training. And the first time they make a mistake, we holler at them and say, well, that was dumb. You're not supposed to do that. Who would ever do that? Who would ever put a child behind a wheel without giving them any training? And yet we expect children to know how to deal with things when we haven't taught them how. And nobody's modeled for them how. So our job is to help them deal with life, help them find a way to deal with the yangs. And if we don't help them, then they go back and learn from their peers who are 4 years old, 5 years old, 2 years old, 3 years old, and they do what they do. So I really want to give you a different mindset about the tattling and to teach you some good things to do when children come to us with a problem. So there's some things here that are very easy to do. Number one, when a child comes to you with any problem, I think that we need to give him our attention. And we need to look at him in the face. It's a good idea if we even get down on his eye level. I hope you've tried that. How many of you tried that? And don't you see it works? I mean, I do it at church when a child comes up to me, and they come up to me sometimes around my legs, and I just immediately get down on my eye level, and they're so happy to see you down here, and they feel like, oh, I'm important because you got down on my level. It's just wonderful because they just feel so good. I mean, sometimes they just come for a hug, and I just give them a hug, and then they run off. But they're so surprised that you stop and give them your attention. So I think when a child comes to you, we owe it to him to give our attention. Now, if we're busy talking to somebody, we don't have to stop what we're doing. We can teach him. What can we teach him to do? Yeah, but there's a little trick we can teach children to do, and that is to squeeze their hand. We can teach a child to squeeze my hand, and this is good for you to know as a parent too. How many of you are parents? Okay, it's a good thing to teach a child to, whenever you come up to me, squeeze my hand, and if I'm busy talking, I'll squeeze your hand back, and that says to you, I know you're here, and I'll get to you in a minute. And the child will hold on to your hand, and you can continue to squeeze their hand. It's a very sweet way to connect. And then as soon as there's a lull, or as soon as there's a break, you'll stop and address the child. Instead of getting mad at the child for interrupting, we want to teach the child how to get our attention. And think about it, if we were talking to, if another adult came up to us, we wouldn't say, go away. We wouldn't say, I'm busy. We would wait, as soon as there was a lull, we would say, can I help you? I mean, we would address the other adult. So we want to give children as much respect as you give another adult. So having them squeeze your hand is a good idea. You can always teach that skill. I often hear teachers say, use your words to a child who's just hit another child. Use your words. Well, they don't know what words to use. We have to teach them those words to use. Last night, my grandson, I had my family over for dinner, and my grandson, who's 12, I said, would you help me by loading the dishwasher after dinner? And he seemed happy to do it. And then he said, how do you do it? And I said, oh, just any old way. It doesn't matter. I'm not particular. And then I looked and thought, I never taught him how to load a dishwasher. That was silly to to just tell him any old way, because there are some ways that you need to know how to load a dishwasher, but I wasn't teaching him how to do it, and then I felt so silly that I didn't stop to teach him, and I just let him do it any old way, and then it turned out to be crazy the way he was putting it together, but I knew I couldn't fuss at him because I hadn't really taught it to him. So think about how frequently that happens, that we expect somebody to do something when we haven't really taught them how. We expect a child to use their manners, and we haven't taught them what manners to use. Use your manners. What does that mean? What does that mean? What am I supposed to say? So we have to get up front and teach instead of reteaching. We need to teach a child. You wouldn't just give a bike to a child and say, ride. Well, how would you teach a child to ride a bike? How do you do it?
Go out there and do it.
Absolutely, you model it, don't you? You model it. So the number one thing is we have to model it. We have to teach the child exactly how to do it. We model it. A good coach models what they want the children to do. And then when the children make a mistake, does a good coach say, you're out, go sit down, go sit down. What do they do? Yeah, they do. They re-demonstrate it. Let me show you again. Or they get another child to demonstrate the behavior. They don't just fuss at the child, they get it. So you see my point? My point is that we so often expect children to know something, and they've never been taught, and they've never seen it modeled. Children are born with empathy. A baby will crawl over and give their pacifier to another baby who's crying, or pat their leg. It's so sweet. But a child can lose that empathy by the time they're 4 years old. By the time they're 8 years old, they can set fire to a building. It hasn't been demonstrated. They haven't seen role models usually, and it hasn't been applauded where they haven't got attention for doing the right thing. Focusing on the grass and not maybe they just see the kids, they haven't seen the grass. So here's some things on the right hand side that we can say, and I want you to kind of learn these and get in the habit of doing this. The easiest and the first one is to say, I'm sorry. Johnny hit me. He was rude to me. He said I can't be his friend. And that's the big one around here. He won't let me be his friend. He says I'm not his best friend. I mean, that's huge.
John does that.
He does?
He says,
He just said he would be my friend.
Yeah, I know. And that's a big one. Back to the front page here. Number one, there are 8 things that happen to children, and I'll go back and forth here for a minute, but the first one is the fear of being left out. You see that? That's the biggest fear that children have, being left out. So that's why that hurts so much. He's not going to be my friend. Okay, so let's go back to the page 2. I'm sorry. And oftentimes, I would say 90% of the time, that's enough. When you just say, I'm sorry, and you really mean it, you're not just saying it without thinking. You're looking at the child, hopefully you've gotten down on his eye level and say, I'm sorry. And oftentimes, that's all he needs to hear. He can just, somebody cares. Okay, then the next one is, thank you for telling me. I'm glad you told me. Thank you for telling me. I would never do that to you. And our teachers have learned to say all these kinds of things together. They usually say, I'm sorry, thank you for telling me. I would never do that to you. And you can learn those easily. And the child is very comforted by hearing that. I'm sorry your ears had to hear that. I'm sorry your eyes had to see that. I mean, and we say that to each other when things go wrong around here. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry your ears had to hear it. I'm sorry turn your eyes, you have to see that. So it just feels good for somebody to care and somebody to realize that I would never do that to you. I'm sorry your feelings were hurt. That's another one. You must have felt sad. So you can identify the feeling that you see them see. And the I messages, if you remember, always had a feeling word in them. And so we want to identify the feelings so that children can start to identify their own feelings. I feel sad, I feel mad, I feel angry. And we want them to know that those are legitimate feelings and everybody has those feelings and it's okay to have those feelings. So we really want to teach the children those feeling words. And then if the child's still there, and we hope the child's not going to still be there, because we hope that what we've said has been enough. But I would say 90% of the time the child is gone now by now. It was just enough for you to give them that comfort. Now you can move on to the next. Can you tell him how that made you feel? Did you tell him? Can you tell him how that made you feel? And then what do you think you could do about it? And now if you're down on his eye level and say, what do you think you could do about it? Then sometimes, and especially the children around here who've heard this a lot, will say, I could tell him, I don't like that. Yeah, that's right, you can tell him. Why don't you try that? And the children around here, like I say, have heard this a lot, so they're usually very empathetic and sympathetic. Can you take care of it? Is there something I can do to help you? Do you want me to go with you and hold your hand while you do this? See, we want to give children the skills, and sometimes they're still nervous and can't go back and do that, but they could do it if we're helping them. And Mrs. Brady does a lot of that. You'll see Mrs. Brady doing a whole lot of that. She goes with the child, and she kind of coaches the child. Now, what did you want to say to him? And how can you say that? And what are the words you need to use? And she doesn't do it for him, but she lets the child learn those words. And sometimes she coaches him and says, you need to tell him that made you hurt your feelings, or that made you sad. But she encourages the child to do it. Okay, could the two of you choose a third person to help you solve this problem? And that's really for older children, but sometimes it works. And one of the ones that helps a lot, and it's not on this list, I don't think, is to say to the child, I'll be watching next time. And that's a big one. And I learned that from a participant in my workshops where I was doing this workshop on Tattling. And somebody said to raise their hand and said, this is what I do a lot and it helps. And that is to say, I'll be watching next time. And that means that you really will be watching. And that's another thing about the playground, is that you need to spread out in the playground and make sure that somebody is covering all the areas of the playground. And that brings me to another subject which I should have started off with, and that is the most important thing for you to always be aware of here and everywhere you are with children is safety. That's the absolute most important thing. And counting the children. And you will see our teachers counting the children all day long. They count the children when they go out, they count the children when they come in, they count the children all the time. They are constantly getting in the habit of counting the children. And if a child leaves, they tell everybody in the class, now it's not 14 anymore, it's 13. And counting the children and keeping up with the children is extremely important. I could tell you lots of stories. I could spend the next hour telling you stories of children who've gotten away from us or gotten away from other teachers and how serious that is. And years ago, I saw a child walking that I recognized honest, I had been to the hospital with my own son who had his tonsils out, and I was driving back to school, and I saw this child walking by herself, and I stopped and said, "Rebecca, where are you going?" She said, "I'm going home." Well, she actually lived 7 miles away, and she thought she was going home. So I picked her up, took her back to school, and she was about half a mile from school by then. And the teachers, at the school had not missed her. Now that happens often. Children get away from us without us missing them, and we really can be held accountable, and we can actually lose our jobs. I know somebody's lost their job over leaving a child on the bus. The child had fallen asleep. The person that got on the bus and got on the bus was a child. One of our student teachers had an unfortunate occasion where she was subbing, and the substitute she sent outside with the children, and the substitute took the children to resource. And then later, the principal showed up with one of the children that the substitute should have taken to resource, and this child had been hiding on the playground. And the child had come around to the front door, knocked on the door, and the principal got mad at the student teacher and said, "You'll never get a job in the school because you weren't keeping up with this, the numbers here," which we all felt was very unfair. She should not have been held accountable for that. But I was called by a judge one time to give my opinion about a teacher who had sent a child to the office, a very responsible child, and on her way back to the classroom had looked out the door and seen her mother's car, and she ran out the door because she saw her mother's car, and she got hit by a car. And so the judge was calling me to ask my opinion about whether this teacher should have been blamed for having sent this child to the office. So I'm telling you those stories to keep you very aware that safety is the most important thing, and counting on children is the most important thing. But on the playground, we want you to always also not give in to the temptation of talking to your friends. And all of us have that temptation. We don't have benches out there so that our teachers can't sit. But it's such a temptation to get involved with other adults out there. And sometimes that's the only chance your teacher has to talk to you, but you still need to have a local view of the playground and always be watching. Don't ever turn your back to where most of the children are. And close proximity really takes care of a lot of things. If a child knows you're nearby, they will behave themselves better just knowing that somebody is there and is watching. So I wanted to insert that here. Okay, also kiss your brain for doing the right thing, coming to tell an adult, not hitting or hurting somebody else. And then role play, and this means that when you go back into the classroom, you need to help the children, and oftentimes it's a good idea to role play and let 2 other children play act what happened in this classroom. And that's a good time for a class meeting where you can have everybody talk about what could have happened or what you could say if this happened, and role play it. So one of our teachers of 2-year-olds years ago had little puppets, and she had them act out what had just gone on the playground. And she said, what could you do if somebody hits you, if somebody hurts you, what could you say? And they came up with some things that the children could say, like, no thank you. And that became a favorite of these children. No thank you, no thank you. And they holding out their hands. I'm not ready to play, I'm not ready to play. And trying to protect themselves. So we want to give children a way to protect themselves. Okay, those are things we can say, and I kind of need you to learn those on the right-hand side, and your teachers will be but that will help you a lot. Now, as a last resort, if the child is still there, they're still here, and nothing of that has appealed to them, then you can say this, and that is, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. Now, the child may say, goody, I've got to get this child in trouble. Now, if the child's coming to you was in order to get another child in trouble, you want to be sure that doesn't happen. And so you say, I'll take care of it. You run along. You go off and play somewhere else. Go on over there, and I'll take care of it. So you do not allow this child to go with you when you go to take care of it. Now, this is real important. So when you go over to the child who was the child accused of doing something, you get down on their eye level and you don't say anything. And what does that child say?
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. They do. They say, I didn't do it. And you say, you didn't do what, honey? I didn't say you did it. So they tell on themselves. Oftentimes children tell on themselves. And so that's kind of interesting when they do. And you say, well, what did happen? And then they'll tell what happened. But he hit me. Now, you know, you never can get to the root of what happened. Never can you get to the root of what happened. So I would never ask a child why you did something. He did it because he felt like doing it. He did it because he had reason to do it. Now the reason may have happened 15 minutes ago in the classroom. The reason with adults could have happened yesterday. So you never can get to the root of what happened. Okay, let's say I kneel down and look at this child and I say, and I don't say anything, and is it Brooke?
Yes.
Brooks just looks at me with an innocent look, and I say, Brooke, I love your shoes. Those are so cute. I can say anything I want to her. I don't have to deal with whatever was told to me. So I can say, yes, I can say anything. Now this child doesn't know, but Brooke knows that I'm paying more attention. Let's say that a child came to me and said, Sarah just threw paper out the window. And I say, thank you for telling me. And then she says, well, what are you doing? And I say, I'll take care of it. Okay, so I don't do anything right now, but when we go outside, I see the paper under the window. I say, Sarah, would you pick up the paper? And she said, I didn't put it there. I said, I didn't say you did. I didn't say you did. Could you help me pick it up? And then tomorrow, I'm watching Sarah all day long. I'm watching Sarah like I'm trying to see if she. So number one, you don't accuse a child of something you didn't see. You don't blame a child for something you didn't see yourself. And number two is you don't ask a child a question you already know the answer to. So if I say, Sarah, pick up the paper. Did you throw paper out the window? And she says, no. And then I said, but I saw you. And then she's going to say, why did you ask me then? You saw me. So you're forcing a child to have to think about whether he lies or not. And most children will lie quickly to get out of trouble. So you don't want to push a child to lie. So you don't want to ask a child a question you already know the answer to. So I say, Sarah, I saw you throw the paper out the window. And she says, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. I saw you, honey. Now let's talk about what about the paper out the window. I'd like you to pick it up. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I saw you do it. You just keep on saying, I saw you do it. So now I just need you to pick it up. It's not like I'm going to put you in the corner for an hour not like I'm gonna fuss at you or punish you. It's just that you need to pick up your paper. So it's important, number one, that we make ourselves available, that we take care of things that we can, that a child doesn't get another child in trouble. On our playground, I heard a child do that on purpose, try to get somebody else in trouble. And so she went and told the teacher, Johnny just hit me. And the teacher said, Johnny, come over here and take a time out. You have to take a break, Tommy. Johnny, who did I say? And the teacher had not seen it. And the child came back and said, I'm going to try. You see, if that's the purpose, to get somebody else in trouble, you want to make sure that doesn't work. So you never blame a child for something you didn't see. And you certainly don't give a timeout for something that you didn't see. Okay, any questions about that? It's kind of a different mindset. So it takes you a little while to think about.
Yeah, what about stuff that really doesn't matter that they tattle on? My last crowd would come during center time. They might have a couple of sheets that they have to do. They have, for each of the centers, and even one in one particular center. And apparently the teacher would, say, okay, do this, and then this, and this, and then so, student might do the last one named, and then work your way, backwards. And I'll get kids come up. So I'm supposed to win this paper first. It's just honestly, it really doesn't matter. So I'm just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's stuff that doesn't
You can
really
just say
matter.
thank you for telling me. You can just say thank you for telling me, and then just move on, and just let him know that it's not going to get this child in trouble. Once they see that it doesn't get the other child in trouble, they'll stop telling you a lot of things. Because if it did work and you went over and said, Sarah, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it blah, 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 then this child benefits from telling you. So that's the huge thing, is that we don't want children to benefit from telling us stuff. So you just say thank you for telling me. But you do want to acknowledge the fact that the child has come to tell you. Because remember, if it was something important, Johnny just threw up. You wouldn't say, I don't need to know that. Okay, now let's talk about how we can help children, because children do have a lot to deal with. So we can teach children to, on the same page, teach children to avoid the situation or walk away, or say, no thank you, I don't like that, please stop, that hurts my feelings. We want to teach children those things. So when we have a class meeting, we can say, how many times, what kinds of things could you say? You say one, you say one, you say one, you say one. Yes, we can say all those things. Let's practice them. Let's say them together, because we need to teach that. We need to put it in the child's repertoire and his vocabulary. So we do a lot of that. And before you go outside, you can have some children talk about what they can say if they don't like what somebody else does or says. What can you say? And then you'll hear the children using those things. And that's, yes, you pat yourself on the back because you taught it to them. And you've given them a life skill. Do you see how important this is? It's a life skill. We all need to know when to walk away, don't we? We all need to know when to not get involved. We all need to know when to avoid the situation. We all need to know what to say. And then the last one says, get an adult. It says, please, can you help me? So now let's look back on the last page. I did Kid Talk on Wavy not long ago, and they asked me to deal with this whole topic of bullying. And my job was to teach these children who were 5th grade so this is what I came up with. The first is to teach children to stand tall. And I taught them all to squeeze an orange between your shoulder blades. Squeeze an orange between your shoulder blades, and then I had them all practice that. And you all practice. Let me see.
Did you ever bring in more?
I should. They said, "Did you get orange juice?" So teach them, and I told them that that does many things for you. It helps you to have good posture. It helps you to stand tall. It makes people respect you more. It keeps you from slumping over, and it keeps you from having curvature of the spine. And when you get old, you'll be glad you're not all slumped over. And don't you all admire people who have good posture? There was a professor here who had the best posture, and I was always so admiring of that. And I said, "Did you take ballet as a child?" She said, "Yes. I think taking ballet as a child, and I would encourage you all to encourage your little girls to take ballet because it does give them posture, very good posture." So there are so many reasons to stand tall, but standing tall helps others to respect you. And give eye contact, look at people in the eye, smile, and let me remind you that smiling is a requirement. And I have often asked my first practicum, and were any of you here the first day when we did the workshop? Thank you. And my homework was what? Practice smiling in the mirror. And you need to practice smiling in the mirror because, why do you think? Why do you need to practice in the mirror?
It's a habit.
You make it a habit, but why else? You look to see how sincere you look, because when you look at yourself practicing in the mirror, it looks kind of you have to really work at it to make it genuine. And believe me, practice when you smile. Everybody's attractive, but children feel safe around you. They want to be with you. So please walk into your classrooms every day with a smile, and keep that smile. One of my students said, "Well, I just don't wake up happy every day like you do." I said, "What? You think I wake up happy every day?" Oh, no. Life's a struggle for everybody. You have to work at it, and you have to believe in it. So practice it, and it gets better and better. And you will be a magical teacher much more when you practice smiling. I don't know what I told you, but I had this student who smiled at me all the time when I was teaching, and did I tell you this? Anyway, she just became my favorite because if you're ever teaching and somebody's falling asleep, do you know how hard it is to keep teaching? It's really hard. So you look at somebody who seems like they're receptive of what you're doing. Now she became everybody's favorite. Honestly, she was not the best student by any means, but she became everybody's favorite because she seemed to enjoy what she was doing. So a lot of it is fake it till you make it. Just keep on trying to fake it, and then it helps you to make it. It really does. Give compliments. I taught them to give compliments to other people. And that's such a good idea for you to teach your children to give compliments to other people, because the child's not going to say, I don't want to play with you, if you've just given them a compliment. When my grandson was in 3rd grade, he was petrified of his teacher. He did not want to go to school because he had heard bad things about this teacher. And guess what I told him to do? I said, give a compliment to her every day. Find something to compliment. Tell her this is a neat game. You look nice today. And do you know, after 3 weeks, he became her pet. I've never told her that he was doing that, but he learned to do it. And it was amazing how it turned her around. She just started loving him. When you love somebody that gave you a compliment every day, I mean, it's, you know, in the classroom, and you have a child say, oh, this was a fun day. You look nice today, Miss Brady. I like your hair. I love your shoes. It's so easy to do. So teach children to do that. Teach yourself. And gain confidence and skills. And so one of the things I had them do was to, these fifth graders, I had them to write down something they would like to be when they grow up, and something they would like to work on. And then I told them that I was going to keep the card and mail it to them. I wanted them, this was spring, and I wanted them to work at this all summer. And I was going to mail them a card in the fall to see if they had worked at it all summer. So gaining a skill, working hard at something, running, reading, something that they really wanted to do, that they could work hard at. So, in other words, developing skills, and that's what we want our children to do. Find their sweet spot, find what they're good at, and help them to be excited about it and to grow in it. Give the child a whistle, let him teach other children to whistle. Oh, our time is up. Okay, hold on to this, and let's see. You know you turn in 3 journals this 5 weeks. The first journal will be due 2 weeks from today. The second journal will be due 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Or 4 weeks from today. And then the fifth journal will be due after you finish here. So you can bring it to me in class if you're in 4th